goes through that lens.
Sure.
How would we want to enjoy our community better? And we have to step outside of ourselves and say our interests aren't everyone's interest. That's another thing that we started with from day one. We're not a venue for like politics or political infighting, which people are happy not to see.
Yes, indeed. It's so refreshing to have a place to go where you don't have to think about.
But if people have strong opinions, it's not our responsibility to choose what's right or wrong.
Right.
We'll have letters that come in, especially to our online, where on the weekend we do a letters to the editor special edition, and we'll have letters that are, someone is on fire about some local issue that they have the strongest opinion on. Then we'll get emails from other people that say, how could you print that? Do you support the thing? We say, no, you're supposed to write the next letter.
That's right.
That's our role. Our role is to help create that discussion. And as I started to mention earlier, not only do we do that in our media or print vehicles, but we do that in human form as well.
Right.
Our SRQ SB2, it's a complex name, but it's Sarasota Bradenton Squared, SB2, is a panel discussion. You've been on my panel before, right?
I have, and it's always lively, and it's always complimentary, even when it's contrasting.
Mm-hmm.
Even if people have different points of view, there's a lot of respect there, and there's a lot of good interfacing without obnoxiousness, which we see way too often in the public.
We bring community leaders together who may or may not know each other and may or may not have differing opinions, and on a platform in front of a couple hundred people, we discuss community issues. And I always warn them going in, like, I'm not going to let you do your stump speech.
Right.
Everyone has stump speeches. Everyone who does public speaking has a stump speech.
And they have their bullet points.
They have your bullet points.
And their hot buttons. We all know the terms.
And I say it's not about that, and it's also not about fighting. It's like, let's get past that defensiveness, because we're in this together and it's a positive space, and try and see where there's solutions or middle ground or just ideas.
Right.
It's been an exciting initiative.
Right. Even our film commission, we always say it sort of jokingly, but we do mean it seriously. We're Switzerland. We are not going to choose sides. We are not going to take combative positions. We're here to serve. We are servants of the people that we contact and the productions that we facilitate. We're here to serve. We're not here to create conflict or choose sides. We have to treat everyone equally. And God bless America and freedom of speech and freedom of choice, and yay! That's my feeling about it. And I just tell people, please forgive me, but I don't get drawn into political discussions. I don't get drawn into religious discussions or gender discussions. I love everybody. Can't we all just get along? Maybe that's a little trite, but you know what I'm saying. In seriousness,
well, for us,
giving everyone
I sort of
freedom.
said, our role is to give an opportunity for different voices.
Right.
And that's going to be voices that maybe I personally don't always agree with a voice. That, of course I don't, because they're different opinions.
We all have our beliefs.
My job is to, and the job of the magazine is to give venue to voices. And I'd say probably the only thing that we're not welcoming to is, aggressive, attacking, angry. If you're just full of vitriol, your letter might not make the cut. And to be honest, that's the case. If you're opinionated, sure. But
if you're yelling, you're not listening.
No.
And if you're yelling, you're not learning.
Yeah. And it's funny with these in-person discussions, these SB2 discussions. And also we had another series that is coming back next year called The Rumbles, which is a debate series, that's one of my pet babies, because obviously I also think very strongly about freedom of speech and freedom and diversity of opinion.
Well, you have somebody saying, let's get ready to rumble.
I do that.
You do that. All right.
I do that. And everyone laughs because, we're all in suits. It's very serious, and then that's my job.
That's your job. Oh, I didn't mean to steal your thunder about your
that's
rumble.
Okay.
No.
But it is an interesting thing is that we'll have either the SB2s or the Rumbles. We'll have 6 or 8 people on stage who have a diversity of opinions, who certainly there are things they don't agree about, but they may agree on issues. It may be people representing education issues, the head of the Education Foundation for one county and the head of the Education Foundation for another county and the teachers union. And it could be a lot of people with differing opinions. Mm-hmm. If the environment's positive, then they have positive conversations. We'll have 250 people come up and say, that was so wonderful, and it was so great to hear the positive, and blah, blah, blah. And I have learned over the years there are one or two people I recognize in the crowd, and they will shove their way to the front and say horrible things if we let them to our guests. And, you know, it is what it is, but you have to take a step back and go, okay, there's 300 people here.
Well, and civility.
Who are not that.
Civility is something we need more of, not less of.
Yeah.
Right?
The noisy, I think it's good to keep it in context. The noisy, unhappy people are... they are the vast minority. They just
are.
Loud.
They truly are.
Yeah.
They really are. But let me take a little detour here before we run out of time, because I really want to talk to you about the filming that you're doing and the short films. The Altier family, did I pronounce their last name correct?
Yeah.
Altier. And The Climb. Tell me a little bit about how you've gotten into some of the filmmaking you're doing now. I know you're an award-winning short filmmaker, because one of the first ways I met you was when you were making short films in competitions. So talk to me about that side of your talent.
This is sort of full circle. When my wife and I met in college, it was the way that we actually met is we ended up working on a documentary together. It was an initiative she wanted to do. She was in a broadcast journalism class, and they asked her to make a 3.5-minute blurb on an issue of importance in Washington, D.C., where we were living. And she came to me and said, because she knew I was a filmmaker or a filmmaking student, and she said, they asked me to make a 3.5-minute thing, but I want to do a half-hour documentary.
Great.
And I said, that's I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And so we spent 4 months putting together a documentary on homelessness in Washington, D.C. We interviewed people on the street.
Fell in love. The rest is history.
And we did. There is a romantic moment where I was holding the camera in the icy snow, and my hand was freezing onto the camera because you can't wear a glove and operate the camera. And we got back to the building, and she could see my fingers weren't uncurling properly. And she said, "Oh, let me warm your hand." And she grabbed my hand, and like the spark, it really did happen. There was a spark there in the video editing.
Yeah, and not only is she beautiful, but she's brilliant. She's got quite the mind on her. And your children, wow, stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, my wife is pretty darn tremendous. She is amazing. Yeah. So we viewed ourselves as storytellers. And initially, we didn't know what direction we would head in. We thought about radio. We thought about, we actually had a video production company for a short time. We were the first ever freelance video production. It was just a couple of kids. They didn't know that. Hired by the Sci-Fi Network when they started up.
Fabulous.
And really, we found the magazine storytelling venue to be the one that satisfied our entrepreneurial hunger and let us tell stories and let us be part of the community. And fast forward through that, now 20 years later, there's this opportunity to bring back something that brought us together and was always part of the passion. So we've started this new initiative to the company called Moving Stories. And
they are moving.
Thank you very much. And our goal with Moving Stories is, at least initially, to really focus on a very specific niche, which is 2 to 5 minute, 2 to 7 minute mini docs, mini documentaries. They're not scripted productions. They're not heavily storyboarded productions. But we go in with a drive to hear the authentic message that is behind whoever we're working with.
Right. It is what we refer to as partially scripted. There's unscripted. Yeah. There's partially scripted. Yeah. There's total reality, and then there's total documentary. Yeah. Total documentary quite often is 75 to 80% scripted, and reality is 75 to 80% scripted. No, I'm kidding. But there's a lot of leeway
we
there.
Tell our clients when we work with them, we won't give them the questions ahead of time. We may work on them with them, but they don't know exactly what they're going to be asked. We don't want them to write their answers down. We don't want them trying to recite answers, and
kind of like my show.
Yeah,
yes,
very much. And it becomes a human conversation.
Right.
And so one of the examples that you cited is called The Climb, the Altier family story, which we did for the American Cancer Society of Sarasota.
Yeah, very moving.
Thank you. It is a really challenging journey that you go on with Steve Altier and Judy, who's a really beautiful family, whose daughter Casey in her teenage years is struck with a very rare, very aggressive, very dire diagnosis of cancer, and it ended up being exceptionally powerful for them, because the family in some ways, it turned out, hadn't confronted their own cancer journey. And it was kind of amazing to see them make realizations as we were interviewing and as we were filming. And then the finished product is we were able to bring their story together. We were able to give the story to the American Cancer Society, and they presented it at one of their big fundraisers.
And it's gotten nothing but positive acclaim. If people want to get a hold of you, and if people want to find out from you more, how do they reach you before we run out of time? I want to be sure they can reach you.
Sure. To reach me directly, first of all, go to srqme.com. You can find me, Wes Roberts. I'm on there. My email address is right on the website.
Right.
You can also email me directly at wes.roberts@srqme.com. And if someone has a story that they want told that's like the one we did with the Altier story, perhaps we should have started on that part of this instead of all the other interesting things we wandered through. But for us, a story like that one, we know as a creative, you've achieved something when you have this audience of, I think it was 650 people in the ballroom at the Ritz-Carlton for the fundraiser, and when all of them are crying, as an artist, you've touched people. You've really achieved something.
You've succeeded.
Yeah.
Well, Wes, I thank you so much. I wish the show were longer. It's been wonderful having you here, and you've shared with us so much about the humanity of what you do, and the personality of what you do, and the attitude of what you do, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes SRQ Magazine special. And you and your beautiful wife and your wonderful children, who we didn't get to talk about, we'll have that on another show. You're a great part of this community. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeannie.
You're welcome. And to all of you listening, I hope you enjoyed it. Share the link with all your friends. It's a great, great link to share. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now. I want to thank you for listening. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, your Sarasota County, Florida Film Commissioner. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to www.filmsarasota.com, or you can call us toll-free from wherever you are at 888-765-5777, extension 104. We're easy to get a hold of. And we like email. You can email us at info@filmsarasota.com, and we check all of our email. If you don't hear back from us right away, it's not that we haven't gotten it, but we might have a computer glitch. I hate to admit it, but it happens a lot. We've had emails that disappear for a month. We've had phone messages that disappear for 2 months, but they show up eventually. So we will get a hold of you. Or you can get a hold of us, ask us questions, and if we can help you, we will. And if we can't, maybe we can steer you in a good direction to somebody who will help you. And that's it for me. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, and you've been listening to Entertain You on the Radio Ear Network, and this is the Society Bites network of programs. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.